Some days, it feels like you've tried almost everything to beat the heat. You drink more water, turn on the air conditioner, reach for a glass of ice-cold water, maybe even choose drinks that people often call cooling. And yet, by the end of the day, you're still thirsty, still exhausted, still feeling heavy, and somehow, you don't feel much better at all. If it only happened once, you'd probably think the weather was simply too extreme that day. But when the same thing keeps happening day after day, the reason may not be the heat alone. Many of the habits we rely on every summer are supposed to help us feel more comfortable. Yet in certain situations, those very same habits can quietly work against us. And the surprising part is, most of you never even notice. So today, let's take a closer look at 7 common summer habits that may be quietly leaving you hotter, more tired, and thirstier than you realize. The truth is, most of the habits we're about to talk about aren't actually wrong. In fact, they're the same advice we hear every summer. Because they're so familiar, we rarely stop to ask ourselves, is this really what I need right now? The exact same habit may help one person feel noticeably better, while someone else may hardly notice any difference at all. So instead of looking for one answer that works for everyone, we're going to begin with a few everyday situations that almost all of us have experienced. You may discover that changing just one small habit can make this summer feel much easier than you expected. Mistake 1. Cooling down too quickly after coming in from the heat wave. Just come back after spending time out in the hot sun. Your clothes are still damp with sweat. Your breathing is still heavy. Your face still feels hot. The first thing most people want to do is open the refrigerator, grab a glass of ice-cold water, and drink it as quickly as possible to cool off. And honestly, it feels great. That's probably why it's become such a common habit every summer. What many people don't realize is that, even after you've stepped indoors, your heart rate is still elevated, your breathing hasn't fully settled, and your body is still gradually returning to its normal balance. Many people notice they feel more comfortable if they sit quietly for a few minutes before reaching for ice-cold water, instead of drinking a large amount the moment they walk through the door. It's not because ice water is bad. It's because, at that moment, your body is still adjusting to the sudden shift between the outdoor heat and the cooler air inside. If you've just come back after spending hours in the sun, try starting with a few small sips. Let your breathing slow naturally. Give your heart rate a chance to settle down. Then keep drinking according to what feels right for you. Sometimes how you drink can matter just as much as what you drink. Cooling down doesn't always mean cooling down as quickly as possible. Sometimes giving yourself just a few quiet minutes can make all the difference. Mistake 2. Waiting until you're really thirsty before drinking water. Many people don't think much about drinking water until they're already feeling very thirsty. But long before that, you may have already noticed a few subtle changes. Your mouth feels a little dry. Your head feels heavier than usual. It's harder to concentrate. You find yourself working more slowly. Or maybe you simply don't feel as alert as you did earlier in the day. Because these signs appear so gradually, it's easy to assume you're just a little tired, or that a short break will be enough. By the time you're truly thirsty, that's when you finally reach for water. Many experts believe that thirst isn't always the first sign that you need more water. For many people, those early changes begin much sooner. They're simply so familiar that we rarely notice them. A much simpler approach is to take small sips of water through the day, instead of waiting until you're very thirsty before drinking a large amount all at once. Many people think that this habit is easier to stick with, and it can also make hot summer days feel much easier to get through. Mistake 3. Skipping meals because you think water is enough. By the middle of the day, as the temperature keeps rising, many people suddenly lose their appetite. Even when a meal is already waiting, they'd rather drink another glass of water, or another refreshing drink, and put off eating until later. If it only happens once in a while, it's usually not a big deal. But when it becomes a daily habit, a different kind of fatigue begins to appear. You're still drinking enough water, yet by the afternoon, your mind feels slower. It's harder to focus. Your energy drops. All you want to do is sit down and rest, even though you haven't been doing anything especially demanding. At that point, most of us simply blame the heat. But in many cases, It's just a sign that you've gone half the day without giving yourself enough energy. Instead of forcing yourself to eat a large meal until you're starving, a smaller meal that feels lighter and easier to enjoy is often much easier to maintain during hot weather. For many people, that one simple adjustment is enough to help keep their energy more steady from morning through the afternoon. Mistake 4: spending the entire day in air conditioning. There's a version of summer that feels very familiar to many office workers. In the morning, you leave home, get into your car, walk from the parking lot straight into the office, and spend the entire day in air conditioning. Then it's time to head home. The moment you step outside, the heat hits you almost instantly. Just a few minutes later, you're already sweating, feeling overheated, and the only thing you want to do is get back into the air conditioning. Your first thought is usually, it's unbelievably hot today, but there may be another reason. Moving back and forth between two environments with such a dramatic temperature difference can also leave you feeling much more uncomfortable. Air conditioning is still one of the best ways to stay comfortable, especially during long periods of extreme heat. But if you spend the entire day in a space where the temperature barely changes, adjusting to the heat outside can become much more difficult. If you have the chance, try spending just a few minutes tasking slowly, standing outside, or simply breathing some fresh air before heading back into an air-conditioned room. It doesn't have to take long. For many people, those few minutes alone make the transition between the outdoor heat and cooler indoor air feel much easier. Mistake 5: assuming every cooling drink works the same way. Have you ever tried a drink that everyone seemed to recommend, only to finish it and realize you didn't feel much different? You're still thirsty, still tired, still feeling heavy. At that point, most of us simply switch to another drink, then another, hoping there must be one that can solve everything. But real life rarely works that way. The very same drink can feel completely different from one person to another. That doesn't necessarily mean the drink itself is good or bad. It may simply mean the situation is different. That's also why, in the previous video, we didn't try to name the best summer drink. Instead of constantly switching to something new, try asking yourself why you want that particular drink today. Sometimes that one simple question can teach you more about what you really need than trying yet another drink. Mistake 6: ignoring the early signs of heat exhaustion. This is a mistake many people who work outdoors have experienced. A delivery driver, a construction worker, or simply someone walking under the midday sun. At first, nothing feels seriously wrong. You stand up and feel a little dizzy. Your head feels heavy. Your whole body feels drained. Some people also notice mild nausea, or suddenly realize they don't have enough energy to keep going. The natural reaction is to push through for just a few more minutes. Drink some water, take a short break, then get right back to work. Because we all hope the feeling will simply pass. But those first signs are often the moment you should slow down. If you keep pushing, things can become more serious faster than you expect. When you begin to feel dizzy, completely exhausted, nauseated, or simply don't have enough strength to continue, find a cooler place. Sit down, drink some water, and don't feel like you have to finish what you're doing first. In our next video, we'll take a closer look at how to recognize the early signs of heat exhaustion and why so many people miss them until the situation becomes much more serious. Mistake 7: trying to change everything at once. There's a reaction that's easy to understand. After watching a few videos or reading a few articles, many people think, this time, I'm going to change everything. They buy supplements. They change their diet. They start going to bed earlier. They change their workout routine. They even change what they drink every day. At first, it feels like a fresh start, full of motivation. But just a few weeks later, everything starts to feel overwhelming. You don't know which habit is actually helping. You don't know how it's simply a coincidence. And you don't know whether to keep going or stop. It's not because those changes don't work. It's because they changed everything at once. When everything changes together, it's almost impossible to tell what's actually making the difference. Instead of trying to reinvent your entire lifestyle, start with just one habit. Stay with it long enough. Observe, then add the next step. It may be slower, but it's much clearer and much easier to stick with. Looking back at these 7 habits, you'll probably realize that none of them are unfamiliar. Most of you shave done at least one of them. And because they're so familiar, they quietly become a part of everyday life. If there's just one idea I hope stays with you after today's video, it's this. Don't be too quick to think that summer is working against you. More often than not, what makes the biggest difference isn't the weather. It's how we move through those hot summer days. There's one part of the story haven't explored yet. The moment when the heat stops being something that simply makes you feel tired and starts becoming a warning sign. The challenge is, many people mistake it for nothing more than a lack of sleep, working too hard, or simply having a long, exhausting day. That's exactly what we'll explore in our next video. If you don't want to miss it, be sure to like, subscribe, and join me for the rest of this series. Thank you for staying with me until the end. Understand your body, eat well, live naturally.